So when we're going through the inquiry, just get yourself comfortable and relaxed. These pictures are from my emergency practices page. So to notice where we're at in terms of our nervous system, we can always do something to calm ourselves down. The picture of the superhero there, he's reading. And that's something that reading out loud, I never realized until a few years ago when I came across it in something that's one of the ways that we can calm our nervous system. It's not all that possible for us to kind of continue being afraid if we're reading out loud and shaking it out. We've talked about that and done that in our things, getting out into nature, breathing. So there's a lot of ways that we can self-regulate our nervous system. So just to keep that in mind as we're going through that. And I totally don't want to scare anybody. I'm just reminding us all that there's an intensity to this at times. Our bodies are very personal. So if you were to just let those words reverberate in your mind, I trust my body. Before you go into the other part of the slide, just maybe close your eyes for a moment or soften your gaze. What comes up for you when you say that or when you hear that? I trust my body. Sometimes when we do that, the evidence comes forward about why that's not true. So I've got some things on the slide. If we have a chronic illness or if our body keeps letting us down, if it doesn't work very well, it might be a memory of something that was going on when we were a child, like we were bullied or coordinated. We were the one that always got picked last on the team. It also could be that our body is not in the norm of what our culture says it should be: too fat, too skinny, freckled, different color skin, differently able. There's all kinds of criteria that most of us don't meet. And then we have these experiences in our body, and we tend to form beliefs. Every experience that we have, we form beliefs about ourselves based on the experiences. And it's not a bad way to, it's evidence based, which is better than a lot of the news these days. But often our beliefs are not correct. We form deficiency beliefs. We believe something is our fault when it's not. And so it's good to look at those beliefs and to see. So our goal, if we put it in that kind of a way, is to trust our body and to be connected and kind and compassionate and patient and have a good relationship, a friendly relationship with our body. So we're looking in these inquiries to see what's in the way of that. What are our beliefs that are in the way of that? We're going to stop and pause here for a while. And one of the things that I've noticed is that our bodies often bear the brunt of emotional comfort seeking. So we'll do something that's not good for the body, and in order to feel more comfortable emotionally. And then we will often turn against it. And then we also make bargains with our body. Like if I eat well and I exercise, I won't get sick. It's true that if we eat well and exercise, our health is more likely to be better, but it's not a guarantee. And do we really feel let down? So I thought it would be helpful to take a couple of minutes to really look into this. Like, what does trusting my body really mean? On a really detailed level, what am I trusting my body to do, to not do, to save me from? So let's sit with that for 2 or 3 minutes. Give ourselves time to kind of settle into that. And if you find your mind wandering, just kind of come back to the questions. What bargains do I make with my body? And what is it that I'm trusting it to do? How would I know if I'm trusting my body or not? What is the criteria? You might jot something down or just kind of keep a mental kind of note. How do you know that you don't trust your body? How do you make that decision? My body's trustworthy. It's not. And if you find that your mind's wandering, just bring it back. Come back into your body. Notice your feet, your seat. If your body's relaxed, notice your breath. Stay with this another minute or so. And then let's start to look more directly into our relationship with our body and the experiences that we have. So we're looking at this. I have compassion for my body. Let those words reverberate. What comes up? Does it feel true? Not true? And then there's two different statements that are one or the other, which feels more true. The first one, and just pick whichever one resonates or make up your own. If something's coming in, make up your own for sure. So the first one is my body deliberately lets me down, or I haven't made it easy for my body, and I trust my body tries its best under difficult conditions. Which of those feels more true? My body deliberately lets me down, or it tries to do its best. And the other one is I hate my body and I wish I could live in a computer, or I am connected and feel kindly towards my body. Which of those feels more true? What's your relationship with your body? So let's take about another 4 minutes, 5 minutes here. So you have lots of time to kind of let that come in. Notice what happens in your body, what comes into your mind, which feels more true. If your mind is wandering, just bring it back. See if you could be patient as well. Often, when our mind wanders, it's because there's something that feels a bit too intense. So, we could really give ourselves permission to take a break, do some tapping, do something that feels nourishing for ourselves. And then, if we want, we could come back to it. Or we could simply sit with, I have compassion for my body. See what comes up when we look at that or listen to those words. I have compassion for my body. And then take a little bit more time with that if you want. And if you're kind of feeling finished with that, come into this reflection. You can put your hand on your heart if you want and see what comes up when you consider these words. I am willing to cultivate connection with my body. I'm willing to cultivate connection with my body. So we're not having to be perfect. And I am willing to nurture and nourish friendliness towards my body. We live in these bodies, and often we're so disconnected. Notice what your response is to those friendliness and connection. Notice your breath, notice your body, notice how your feet are somewhere in the environment, maybe on the floor, your seat. Notice your breath. And if there is any kind of resistance, kind of a stubbornness or a turning away, notice that. That's okay if it's here. We might want to look into that a little, see what's going on there, see if there's a curiosity there. Why is it that that doesn't feel like I want to do that? Or that I feel resistant or unwilling? What does it feel like if there's even a little bit of loosening up there or a bit of warmth? Is that something that we could nurture, fan the flames of that warmth, that willingness maybe? And what's happening in the body as we're considering this? Our body will often tell us more than our mind will. Is there a relaxation, a sadness, a tension? What's going on in our body? And what's in the way? So, this slide here of all of the, not all, some of the elements of trust and connection and happiness, there's so many elements of that. And a lot of them have to do with our body. Our nervous system does, our breath does. If we're connected with our body, we're more likely to be willing to connect with others. There's so many elements to this. So it's good to acknowledge one of these circles can be a work of a lifetime, really. And that we don't have to be perfect in any of these in order to be on that journey of connection with ourselves and kindness. So as we look at, I'm willing to cultivate connection with my body, let's come back to that for a minute before we finish the inquiry. What comes up for you when you're considering this? And if there's something in the way, what is it? Is it a belief? Is it years of experience that my body is object of shame or contempt? And then we might turn against it as well. What is it that truly stands in the way of this friendly relationship, this friendly connection with our body? And even saying these words, a connection with or friendliness towards, kind of makes it sound like our body is different or it's separate from us, which it really isn't. We have a mind body that's really connected, and even medical Western researchers are seeing that now. But our experience of our body is often that we're not really in it. We're not really, we live in these bodies, but we're not really connected to it. So that's why I'm using these words. But if you're kind of feeling into that, my body is not separate from who I am. I live here. We're going to work a little bit more with that next week as well. That's another way of approaching this as well. This is me. I'm more than my body, and I'm not separate from my body. What's my connection right now in this moment?